Before you even sit down and work and make a video and create some content, you need to understand that you need some beverage to be able to drink during the video or in the pauses, and the props that you need. The props can be physical in terms of a gray card. I need the gray card to show you that this is how the HLG workflow works. I have this so I can put an eyedropper in the video when I film and I edit and color grade the video. Then you need some digital props. First of all, let's start a new recording on the beautiful MacBook and make sure that I have the microphone already in the recording so that I have a backup for the audio. Let's start the recording right now and go on to the Finder. This is the folder that I have the footage that I'm going to show you. The folder is over here. I take it and I put it in the timeline. I already have the timeline created and it already has the labels, the number of the video, the day, the label of the video, which in this case is DOF, Diary of a Friend, for the project, and number 109. Every time I go over 100, I reset to number 1. So I don't go 300 because it's redundant to delete 3 numbers. Okay. I don't have to keep count of everything that I do in a very precise manner to the hundreds of things. Okay. I've added the footage over here and I already have an adjustment clip on top. I changed the number from 9 to 10 and the number from 23 to 24. In this case, if I look at the last number, if it's 24, then I do 24. If it's 26 and now I'm at 19, because these are different templates for different videos. This is day 66 and DOF 10. Perfect. And now I go straight ahead and cut. Based on the waveform, I cut the video and the adjustment clip. Cut it off. Select everything with Command A. As you can see, I did a lot of things super fast over there. Let's undo everything. What I did is I have a shortcut that is baked in to the DaVinci Resolve. You have this shortcut as well. It's Command B or Control B on Windows. And then I select what I cut and I have a backspace over here. Backspace. This is the mouse. It's called the MX Master S3, 3S actually. And then I do Command A and move it back at the beginning. And then go to the back of the video and do the same. Based on the waveform, usually at the end I let it play a bit, but I'm not because it's going to be annoying for you to have things that are okay. After I did that, I go and do the other editing. I do it usually, I have a paid version of DaVinci Resolve, and I do go right click over here and click transcribe. This will give me a written form and I just delete the parts that I don't need. I add them, append them, and add them to the last part. After I did that, I go into color grading. Now, color grading, I used to have 5 nodes to accomplish what I accomplished over here. And it used to cut the rendering time in half. And one day, I decided to see and test out, and that's the idea over here. You have to test out things, not just go with the workflow that you have. If you want to be efficient, you have to really look at your workflows all the time. I have workflows in Obsidian. I think I'm going to find it over here. Let's see. See now, that's let's see. Yep. I have workflows just like this. Well, not really like this, but more like this. You're gonna stop and read everything over here, but whatever. You can read it. It's not that important. But I have a lot of workflows. This is a more interesting one from a video. I took some notes and I made a workflow around it. So you have workflows and you always take advantage of these workflows and you test it out. Every step you test it out. Can I improve this or is it a bottleneck on my workflow? And rendering times are a bottleneck, especially if you render 1.5 hours to 2.5 hours every day. So let me show you. Let's reset these. Reset node grade, reset node grade. Very easy, very super fast to make them once again. I first go into the primaries color wheels. These are free, as in you get them in the DaVinci Resolve for free, and you also don't have the cost of cutting your rendering times. A lot of color grading is so expensive on the machine. It just cuts the time in less than half. So this will be for free, and I'm going to show you another thing that it's for free that you can use as color grade. So all of these wheels over here, the lift, the gamma, the gain, the offset, all of them are for free. And these ones at the bottom, the colors, the zeros and the ones and the offset. I'm only going to use the offset over here and specifically red, green, and blue. I'm going to look at the image, put it in full screen, and I'm going to ask myself, what does it have too much of? Okay, it has too much red. I pressed Command F or Control F to go into full screen. It has too much red. What's the opposite of red? I don't want to take away color because taking away color takes saturation as well. So I'm going to increase the reds. And that's just about it for now. Now it's too yellow. The opposite of yellow is blue. So we add some blue. Let's go before and after. Before and after. Very soft. I'm just basically doing a white balance. It's easier if you do the eyedropper and actually make an eyedropper white balance. It works quite well sometimes. Okay. I forgot to mention, if you use HLG in DaVinci Resolve, you need to go, it's usually over here in the wheel on the right side, and you go to color management, and you go, instead of DaVinci YRGB, you go, because look, let's see how it looks with DaVinci YRGB. This is awful. That's because it doesn't transform it yet to from an HLG to a Rec 709. So let's go to YRGB, HDR, and then SDR Rec 709. And then we have all the saturation and it looks so much more pleasing. I like HLG because it gives a soft contrast and very beautiful, vibrant colors without any color grade and without a lot of, and it also helps being HDR. It doesn't have a lot of banding and noise when you do a heavy color grade. Okay. So I did the primaries and now HLG has a problem. Not as much as log, but it has a problem when it comes to contrast. You have a lot of ways in DaVinci Resolve to give contrast. The first one is going to be just contrast over here, but this cuts your rendering time in half. Well, not really in half, but 30%. But if you add contrast and then other things, then it cuts it in half. So instead of contrast over here, I'm going to go to HDR, and shadows. I'm going to increase the shadows by going onto the exposure. Again, this is for free. It doesn't kill your render time at all. So it's very important. And I'm just going to decrease the shadows until I like. This is a very soft contrast. You can increase it by going up with this thing, but I like to just keep it as a soft contrast. I like softer contrast. And now I'm going to teach you another way to give the same effect. Let's reset the shadows. And instead of using the HDRs, we're going to use, what are those called? Curves. We're going to use curves. Curves are also free. Whatever curves you use, there are many ways of curves, many different ways to use curves. So you can basically do an S curve, a contrast curve that is going at the bottom over here and lowering the shadows, making them darker, and opening up the highlights. And this gives us a very contrasty look to the video. I don't like that, so I like to go to the HDR. You can achieve the same thing by going to the exposure on the shadows, okay? And also, the difference here is that when it comes to shadows in the HDR, it doesn't also increase the saturation. Because with curves, if you watch over here, it also increases the saturation of the footage. Because in these curves, there is Y, R, G, B. So if you really want to do it the same way as it's in the other HDR wheel, you would have to just go from here and from here. And that doesn't add saturation. So you add contrast without saturation. You eliminate all the colors and you don't add saturation this way. But this is a way easier way, just a slider to the left and to the right, not a curve. So it's a nicer and softer way to add contrast. Let's add contrast to about here. And let's see if the highlights are good, or we can go to the light and lower it, not in saturation. What did I do? Plus you have a very nice reset right above the wheel. So that's super useful, as opposed to going with the curves and always resetting the whole curves. So this is what it affects. You have these things. This is what it affects. So let's lower them down as well. And there is a lot of ways to do saturation in DaVinci Resolve. You have in the primary color wheels, saturation over here, color boost, and also I think another one, but I don't remember. And you have in curves, the curves are free, but the ones that are sliders with numbers over here, they are not free. They make your render times way longer. Now, the one that I like to use that is free is this one over here in HDR tools. And I just increase it quite a bit, not that much, just a few points. This is a very gradual thing. If you want to really do a color grade that is much easier, if you have a hard time to do the primary color wheels that we did at the beginning, you increase this to about, let's say, 146. And now it's going to be apparent what you have over there as very intense colors. It's an orange and a red. So it's very orangey. So you divide the orange into two colors, which is green and blue. Well, yellow and red. So the opposite of yellow is blue. So you increase the blue, and the opposite of red is green. So you increase the green. So then you get something like this, which is much more pleasing to the eye. And then you can reset the global, and as you can see, it it looks quite flat. So that's why it needs some saturation, but not as much. Also, I like to edit with the brightness at 50%, just so I get a more high contrast, high key video. It's not always the case, but we can lower a bit the light once again and saturation a bit more. That's what I do to really get some nicer footage from an HLG footage. This takes me maybe 1.5 minutes. And also it saves time on rendering. You can go very crazy with just these wheels. Okay. I think that's just about it. And then I go here, I select the folder. Oh, I forgot to talk about this. I select the folder I wrote a script with ChatGPT to give me all the dates in the folders that I post daily. And it gives me all folders with each date. I just asked the ChatGPT, the cheap one, well, the free one, to give me a specific, you can find that on YouTube, don't worry, to give me a script, a Python script to make me 365 folders with the date. And I give him exactly the specific way that I want them numbered. And I just have them, and then I copy in other folders. And then I have the renders over here. As you can see, a lot of things every day rendered. Every single day. Well, I deleted a lot of them. Well, archived a lot of them. So, and some of them I delete. Okay. So I go over here, custom exports. I do format MP4, H.265, and I restrict it to 10 kilobits or kilobytes. I don't know which one it is per second. Why? Because this cuts the footage, the size of the video. I tested it out at from 80 to 10,000. There is no difference, at least to my eye, on a 2K screen. I don't know on a 4K screen, but on a 2K screen, it's not that big of a deal. Plus, YouTube also compresses the video a lot, so it cuts down on whatever 80,000 kilobits per second you use. Okay, then I render it out and I wait for it to render. Another quick tip is that you might think that you need a card reader for the ZV-E10. You don't. All you need is a cable, a USB-C or a USB to USB-C cable. And you plug in and you render off of the camera. Depending on what hardware you have to render with, if you have a 4090, then the transfer will be the bottleneck of the edit. But if you have an M2 MacBook, then the bottleneck is actually the GPU. So the transfer speed doesn't really matter. So you can edit off of the camera with a cable. So you don't have to wait 22 or 30 minutes to really transfer all of the files and then edit and then transfer. You can edit off of the either card or off of the camera. But even if you decide to transfer the files, usually it's faster to do it with a USB-C cable. It has way faster transfer speeds depending on your card because they are better at writing than reading, but the camera can read that at almost full capacity. So you already have a built-in card reader on your camera. You don't have to buy one. If you bought one, I'm sorry. But yeah. So I think that's just about it. Thank you for watching and see you in the next one.